McGee. I'm gonna give you a little small intro on as to what his view is. It's black husbands, black men. We're talking about relationships, marriages, everyday life struggles is what we go through. So I'm gonna introduce the guest of today. To my right,
It's your man Demetrius. I got Corey who wants some wings, some good wings though.
Man, I'm loving these Mr. Chill wings and fries. Y'all make sure y'all go get them some. I'm just saying.
yes sir. All right, then I have the man of the hour, Mr. Chill.
Yeah, we're in the building, y'all. Let Mr. Chill's rolling with the gentleman today, and it's been great.
So look, y'all, man. Today we're shooting at Mr. Chill. Y'all see it behind me. Good hot dogs, good food. Please come check it out. So for today, we're gonna talk about. There was a video that came up that I sent to everybody, to where a statement was made that 70% of African American fathers are not active in their kids' life. So look, y'all, we're gonna show y'all a little clip as to what we're talking about, and then after this is over, we'll dive into it. Here we go.
So much of our system has been structured, so many of our messages about black people's worth, about brown people's worth, has been so negative for so long. It is very easy, and it's been structured in our politics, that I think white Democrats, particularly of a certain age, are instinctively still thinking that way.
Hold on.
They're
70%,
instinctively still
70%.
thinking that they can't say really bold things about, you know, black people's worth because there's a white conservative sort of box around the politics, which I think is a reasonable thing.
I just think that when
admit.
70% of African American kids are born without a father or two
What?
parents, well,
What?
they obviously have
Are
a
born
biological
without a
father,
father?
but they aren't supported. They aren't supported.
That
Now, hold
idea
on.
has been
Let me finish.
refuted.
It
Just
is not.
because
It
the
is
marriage
quite-
doesn't happen, actually, African American men are more involved on a day-to-day basis in their children's lives than white men. Look it up. Look it up. Look it
I
up.
don't know where you
Marriage
get
rates
that.
have gone down as
We-
they have gone
we
down for
look- there is a-
non-college educated people.
there is-
The fact that the crowd applauded
Yeah.
that says a lot. It's
I
like,
know.
yes, yes, we hate ourselves.
No, but I mean,
So look, we're gonna dive straight into it.
Dive in.
Everybody saw it.
Okay.
70% of black fathers are not active in their kids' life. So I definitely need to hear some opinions on this.
Well, first of all, I would say when you have a situation, you got to look at where the information is coming from. And I mean, you guys have heard the statement: men lie, women lie, but numbers don't.
Right.
And I always say, who made up the numbers?
Right.
So when I start there, you got to look at that. What are their numbers based on? I don't know about y'all, but every time a poll comes through, I say nobody ever asked me. And so when I see statements like that or statistics like that, the first thing I want to do is dig into the numbers, and I don't want to get too far like off, but who cares what this person thinks? And that's going to be something I'll probably bring up a little bit later.
Right.
But I think that when you look at black fatherhood, it's like we've been fed a whole bunch of lies and we begin to believe them.
Exactly.
You know, yeah, I come from a quote unquote single parent household, meaning my dad was not physically in the home. I know exactly who my father is.
Right.
I know exactly what he put inside of me. I use a lot of what he put inside of me on a day-to-day basis in my current profession, in my life, and then also, you know, how I lead. Are there some things that I learned from him that I said I will never do? Yes.
Right.
But what parent hasn't had that? You know what I mean? And I think that's one of the things when we get our own awakening and epiphanies about who we want to be as individuals, you recognize you're poured into by a lot of people, and then you figure out what works best for you. And then you remix it. But, you know, for him, for that gentleman to make that statement, you can have your opinion, and then he tries to go into whole education and all that kind of other stuff, which is like, stop with it. But I always ask, like, are you really paying attention? Like, who is he?
Nobody that I know. You know, and I'm just gonna say this, like the thing that kind of, I'm not gonna say got me upset about it, but it's like, first off, like you said, where do you get your numbers from? And then as I start putting in numbers and doing the research, the first thing that comes up is that you're trying to categorize it as single families or if we're in this household or not. No, that's not what that means. Being active, I don't need to be in the same household.
To be active.
Right. You know what I'm saying? I could be active, not staying somewhere else. So I just think that when you start pointing fingers and you start making these type of statements, now you're digging up a whole other conversation that we can have that I don't know if they really want to go there.
But the question I always like to ask is, like, my mom used to always tell me this, and this is me. They know I like to be devil's advocate and shit.
You're right.
So devil's advocate is, if you're mad about something, some of it's true. Because if you've done everything you're supposed to do, there's a difference between character and reputation.
Right.
You know, you may want to say something bad about me to target my reputation, but if I've been there, you can't change my character.
Right.
So, you know, my question is, I'm asking a rhetorical question, because of course, we can always be better. But why does it hit so hard when somebody says a black man is absent? Is it because we inherently feel that it's true?
Now, it's just, you know, you have to take it from this perspective. When you hear the crowd chanting against, you know, what you believe in and what your people believe in, you have to always think about their underlying message, what they're trying to get to their people, what they're trying to keep putting poison in their people's head to say that the people who they're talking against or speaking on, they can't rise up. And that's all that is about.
Okay.
So when you take it from a standpoint of, you have maybe 40 years of people being treated bad from 1980 to damn near 2020. These people have been incarcerated, they have drugs put in their neighborhoods. All this was this like the person heckling right now. All this is from that group. They're just trying to show that we can steady break you down. They put drugs in our neighborhood with heroin in the 50s and 60s and 70s. They put crack cocaine in our neighborhoods in the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s. And now this is the only time we're starting to be able to get our kids back. They're at home now playing games on the sofa. They're ordering fast food where we be talking about they getting high blood pressure or they getting carpal tunnel. But we have our children at home. Less of them are going to jail. They're fighting maybe at school, but they're not shooting each other on the street. There's a certain select guys are shooting each other now, but they still trying to be false. But they're trying to achieve the American dream that they have been taught on television and they've been taught in their environment. So when you see that heckler heckling, he's only trying to keep up that. You understand? He's only trying to keep up that disruption that you always heard this negative thing about you. So to make us come talk about, hey man, that's kind of disturbing what he did. But I appreciate when he talked like that because I know I see change.
Okay. Corey?
Well, for me, number one, I don't believe it. I don't believe that 70%. That's a big number.
And that's
That's a huge number.
like you saying we ain't active at all.
Yeah. Now there are a percentage of guys in jail. There are a percentage of guys on drugs. But one thing about a black man, I've been black my whole life. Two things we love is our children and our mama.
Right.
And you're not going to get us to turn against our children and our mama. And so what happens is, do I think we have some broken homes? Absolutely. But that doesn't make the man absent. And what happens is sometimes I think people misunderstand that the father may not necessarily be in the house present, but that don't mean that the children don't feel his presence. Because what happens is a lot of homes are broken. That's a true thing.
Right.
But most guys are really trying. Well, all the guys I know. You know, I guess you can't qualify for be my friend if you don't take care of your
But
children.
hold on, Lord. Why does it have to be a broken home?
And
Well,
where did they come from? Like,
Like,
who created?
why it's looked as a negative? Because I've known two-parent households where it's toxic, and I'm staying here with the children, and that ends up being a worse situation than this quote-unquote broken.
So look, for the people that are listening, explain a broken home as to what they want to categorize.
Well,
it as.
I mean, when they talk about a fatherless home, they're talking about a home where the man and the woman, the mother and father are not married.
Right.
Right. And or living in the same home. And again, we are flawed individuals. Sometimes we make lifetime decisions with people that should have been seasonal. You're going to have to deal with that person.
Very much so.
Okay, when you deal with that person, what are you going to do from there? And this is where I think as black men, again, I say it like this all the time. We need to be the thermostat and not the thermometer.
Absolutely.
Meaning we got to set the temperature. But oftentimes we get in our feelings, like Drake say, and you know, man, she, and not recognizing, hey, you know what? This person is hurt. They hurt because they thought something was going to be there and it's not. Hurt people hurt people. So you may have to swallow a little bit of your pride. You may have to grit and bear, even when quote unquote acting crazy,
Right.
and still be there. But you know, I don't want to get too far off topic. Going into the statistic of it, like Mr. Chill said, you know, we have been indoctrinated with something our whole lives about the black family.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, we started to believe it. And I say that inherently because it's how we react to each other. You know, think about it. How many people do you guys know that got their girlfriend pregnant and the first thing that their mama or grandmama said was, you need to marry that girl?
Absolutely.
You gotta get married.
Not you need to be good to her and that child, but you need to marry her.
Yeah.
But that is what, again, generationally, when you look at the history of it, that is what they
But
were
since
taught.
you on it, let me ask this question, because I want to shake it up a little bit. How big of a part do we play?
When you say we, you got
Well, okay, let me back up. How big of a part do African Americans play? Because here's the thing about it. You have the others who are looking from the outside saying, okay, look, y'all not doing this, y'all not doing that. But at the same time, something has to be going on for us to be given, for them to have this type of impression. You know what I'm saying, about us.
well,
So it's just, I mean, it's like, the thing about it is, it's an honest answer. Like,
I want to say one thing. First of all, anything that we talk about on this particular podcast is going to be so multi-layered. And you got to understand the history of how we got to this particular point. Though we have access, we are still mentally in bondage in a lot of areas. You know, I think I can say this without fear of contradiction, Mr. Chill. As a black man that's a business owner, you get looked at a lot differently from your own people when they go to another business that don't have a owner that look like you. It happens every day. You know what I mean?
So that's why. Why is that?
Because it takes a while for us to get out of our own, like, to have self-awareness, that takes a bit of vulnerability. And one thing is, African Americans, I'll be honest, I don't think we that good at vulnerability. Not along with each other.
We've been,
And I'm gonna say,
we've been vulnerable before under the whip.
Yeah, but and so we said
But
we never
now-
going back there.
Yeah, so we don't want to be vulnerable
But
to each other.
Exactly.
But so inherently, we inherit that. So that changed our direction and how we favor with love.
but speaking of that, you made a great point one day when I came to the shop about, like you were just saying, you're a black business owner. A lot of black people don't come to support. Like, the thing is, why? Like what's the real, like honestly, what's the real answer? Why?
Well, a couple of things. And this may be a little bit off.
It is, but
It is, do I have to support just because you're black? All right, so I may not be just a purveyor of the business that you're in. Now, those that are, then that comes a question of what's the difference? You know, hey, you go to a plumber, somebody comes and quotes you $1,200, and then I come and quote you $800, you like, come on, can't you do something for me? Come on, bro. And it's like, no, like, I have a whole lot of friends that are entrepreneurs that want to give me stuff, and I'm like, no, tell me what your price is.
Yeah.
I want to pay your price because you ain't going to stay in business giving stuff away. And that's where we have to recognize, like, the power of the dollar. We are the biggest consumer. I don't want to get too far off, but with the whole thing about black fathers, about that statement, you know, there are going to be certain things that individuals tell themselves to feel a certain type of way. What we have to do is at a certain point get to a place where it doesn't matter what they say. Like, think about it like this. Tyler Perry just opened up the biggest studio ever. Bigger than what they have in Hollywood. At some point, you gotta stop, thinking that what somebody else has is better. And if I gain access to this, it means that I can reach a certain status. No, like, it's not that. But
Okay, check this out. It's like, to me, you have, you said like Tyler Perry opened. So he's the new age, Harry Belafonte, laying down roots, and we're gonna remember who he is in the future.
Right.
But going to the past, when they desegregated schools and everything, and the communities and businesses, what happened? My dad had a ballroom from 1950 to maybe 1975.
And hold on, you talking about the civil rights era, then to the Black Power era, then in the midst of that you got the woman's
Right.
yeah.
But see, all of this involved with the kids and fathers. He dropped me off at Shakespeare Park. Skeet, my coach, and Billy, the coach, took care of me to the evening and got us home. Just my daddy ain't raised me. I'm 51 years old, and I was born in 1968. The day Martin Luther King was assassinated. I was born the same time, 550 that evening.
Yeah.
Right? So they had a
April 4th was
collaboration.
his birthday.
Yeah, they had a collaboration of people working together. They had seamstress who sold our clothes for my father and other fathers who wanted their kids to emulate them. We don't have enough stuff in our communities that we own, and we don't like. We seeing each other at the round table right now, but no black dude lived next door to me. My old black partner lived across the street because I live in the house I grew up in.
Yeah.
For 50 years, right? So my neighbor, we just have one black person in front of us, and everybody sold on the block. So like we can collaborate here on what it is like back in the past with my dad and them, but like Tyler Perry thing, they're gonna have white and black in there because he got to let everybody come do that to make his money.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but they made their money by themselves, so they was able to teach their children, me, to be an entrepreneur. I was a drug dealer to entrepreneur, right? I hustled for 27 years, then all of a sudden I became this dude I am now. So, but I still had the essence of me with my dad and them put in me. I know how to hang sheetrock, I know how to paint, I know how to work on cars, I know how to break all that.
So with everything you're saying, how did you, being a black father, has your hands in so many pots, how did you incorporate your kids?
Well, what I did, I just brought them to school that morning and put my hustle hours around them going to school and getting out of school. And when I had to take them somewhere, I just meet my people after I had to take them somewhere, meet me at the spot that we're going to be at.
Right.
And when I got clean, like I am now, so it was grown, so they take me home. I take my grandkids places. But we still, the misnomer in the whole thing is, people, remember I said them hecklers, I wish y'all would look at like maybe when they was trying to, Ruby Bridges, the one that was going to the school in the night war on St. Claude, right? Them people gave them hell out there. You seen real white people in New Orleans at that time.
Tell them who Ruby Bridges is.
Ruby Bridges was the first black girl to go to the school on St. Claude Avenue. I forgot the name of the school, and I apologize for that.
Okay.
But I seen the videos, them people was giving y'all hell out there. They were really chanting, right? So that's the same people chanting that we're not good fathers, the drug dealers are not good daddies. They hustle for their family. Majority of the dudes in the 80s and the 90s got their mamas out the project and got their kids in Catholic schools. Some of their kids are working at Baton Rouge as legislators now. A lot of drug dealer kids are doctors and lawyers because these dudes had an idea where they wanted to go. Now I don't know what the new dudes want.
Right. Well, and that I don't. This is the topic that's near and dear to me.
Right.
And the one thing I see that's not happening today, like, and you can attest to this. No matter what you was doing in the streets, if you rode by the church, you may have your system bump at you, but you're gonna turn that radio down.
I come from the church.
Yeah.
So, but that respect factor didn't pass on. But we got movies, like I wouldn't watch The Godfather for a long time for a personal reason because I got 3 older brothers and there's 4 of us, and so my dad gave us all names. One of my brothers Sonny, one is Alfredo, one is Michael Corleone. And
You weren't Alfredo, my brother.
I wasn't Alfredo, I was Tom.
Okay.
I was Tom. I was a consigliere. But
with
with that being said, oftentimes, you know, Sonny wanted to be the godfather, but he didn't have it, but he's the oldest. And so when you start talking about breakdown of where it is now, I'm gonna give y'all something real. If you look at grandma and grandpa, they normally had kids for 20 years. And when you look at that, normally the oldest ones was the ones taking care of the youngest ones. The youngest ones of that civil rights era, of that mom and dad, they were the parents of the kids of the crack generation. They were growing up in that. So now they are the grandparents of the kids we have now. So when you think about it, like the kids out of school now, their grandparents.
Two up individuals.
Yeah, and so it's not, if you look at it from a holistic point, it's like, dang, I can see why we have the situation, because their parents are a part of civil rights, but they're in that bottom lineage to where
But eventually, not to cut you off.
yeah.
But in today's time, how can we implement how we was raised?
You have to get involved.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You
And
gotta look,
and
when I say that, you gotta look for mentorship opportunities. Like Mr. Shield was just saying, he wasn't just raised by his dad, he was raised by his coaches. And that takes time, oftentimes, but in today's society, nobody wants to give up their time because we're in a microwave age where everything is not only hypersensitive, but you feel like you don't have time to give.
And
Yeah, but see, look, they got to make time. I had the Tie event. I won the film festival in California, the Black Film Festival. It's called Tying on a New Tradition. And me and another guy, we shot it together, put it in the film festival. I won the film festival. That's amazing for a black man in New Orleans. But I understood, I took 20 mentors, like y'all background and everything, and I matched 20 kids with them, mentees. And I went to a high school and I had them to roll with them kids for 9 months. You had to see them 3 times a month, right? You had to take them to your job twice. Even if they didn't want to be what you are, but they got exposed to what you do, right? And that's all it's about. I got exposed to what the coaches do.
Listen, exposure.
Kick your ass.
Listen, my grandmother had a 6th grade education. My grandfather had an 8th grade education. They had 7 children. Everybody had at least 1 college degree and sometimes 2. Everybody in my mom's family was pretty much educators, or their background was being able to certify teach. So I had an uncle that was a politician, but he could teach. I had an uncle that was also a fireman. He could also go and teach. With my older cousins, they used to do summer school by themselves because my mother was a math teacher. Her older sister was a language arts teacher. Her other sister was a science teacher.
No break.
But what I'm saying is, and this is the part that I hope that our young people get when you talk about vision. My grandfather and grandmother, like my mom used to tell me stories when she was a math major in college, or even when she was in high school. She got to a certain point where her mother couldn't help her. But she said, I know this is important. I can't help you with your homework, but I need you to know what's in that book.
Right.
Now we got an age of, if you ain't doing what I'm trying to do, I ain't trying to listen to you. There's a difference between experience and wisdom. And sometimes we need to recognize that wisdom is a lot more stronger than experience because they've seen certain things. And I would like him to say their wisdom and experience, even though it may not be in your field, they can teach you something. And I always say this, like, I don't care what anybody else believes in, but if God can make a rock cry out, a crackhead can give you inspiration. That's
Look, check this out, man. I love everything we was talking about right now. So on the second part, we're gonna dive a little bit more deeper. And Corey, like I said, I want to hear your point of view on some of this. You know,
I'm sorry, Corey, I've been talking.
I know. Hey, Demetrius felt like he had to get something off his chest, so he wanted to give it all out.
I was gone last week.
So he had to make up for lost time. It's okay. You did your part. Good. But look, we're gonna take a quick break. We'll be right back. We're gonna dive back into it, man. See y'all later. That was nice.
we are sitting down talking to Dr. J, the hearing doc, who is helping people in New Orleans hear and speak better. What's your favorite performer this year that you're looking forward to?
Tank and the Bangers, Diana Ross, Big Frida.
How you got your start?
I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Who inspires you?
I am inspired by everyday people.
Don't make permanent decisions because of temporary feelings.
Ultimately, you have to learn to depend on God and yourself.
I had a pound of weed in the trunk. I knew that that day I was gonna go to jail. I want them to know that they can't make it, that there is hope.
In New Orleans, art is everywhere, but sometimes that artistry could come at a price.
Just to put a mural up should not cost an artist $500. We think it should be $50.
I just hate that someone would do that and feel they could come in here and do whatever they want.
I went to prison for distribution of cocaine, and that was a past life.
There should not be prison without reentry service, just period.
You know what's funny that we talked about that respect factor. I think what happens with that is the fact that number one, kids are having kids. And so what happens is if you're 16 or 15 or 14 at times, even younger, and you have a child, more often than not, that's going to be grandma's responsibility. And so what happens is when you do have it and morals haven't been instilled in you, and grandma only at 33, it poses a problem.
Hold on, Corey. I'm sorry. I gotta jump in.
First of all, wait.
No.
Why you grab the mic like that?
I'm like,
hold on, Corey.
No, because and the only reason why I say this is because if you look at history, you look at grandmamas. A lot of them became mamas at 17. So, you know, why do we give our teenagers a pass? And I guess the question I'm asking is, when do we stop teaching?
I can answer that question. I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna tell you this. Back in the day, because my father, his mom and dad, they had 13. He had 13 brothers and sisters. Okay. So even though that it was delivered at a younger age, it was a responsibility that was put on them.
Okay, to that point, and I'm glad you just said that, because I think oftentimes everybody can sit and say their parents or people around them said, you know, I wanted to give you what I didn't have, not recognizing what they went through made them the people that they are. And they withheld some of those struggles, which made them have the ability to survive. So what happened was, now you done gave somebody something, and then now you mad at them because they can't respond like you would. They can't respond because they haven't been through what you've been through.
Right.
And because it hurt you about what you've been through, you didn't give them that particular lesson because you didn't want to bring that pain up. That's just...
Isn't that a shame?
That's
that
bad.
You can't take what your parents been through and cultivate it and make it better so you and future generations can live by them principles like Jehovah's Witness faith and Jewish people, right? So when you look at that thing right there, you say to yourself, you say, well, who put out a plan to destroy that seed being carried over so it can be harvested time and time again? So you can't blame your grandmother, you can't blame the sibling who was supposed to get that training and bring it on, because they have so many things to stop you out here. They got people out here to stop you. You know what I tell you about them hecklers? They are out here. And they're here to stop you from the beginning of your grandmother them getting off that ship to now.
But let me ask you this, Mr. Chair. At what point did we do it to ourselves? And I say this like this. Me personally, I always feel like desegregation was one of the things that made our communities begin the downward trend.
True.
Because we were trying to prove to somebody who we didn't have to prove to
Exactly. That's why they passed the bill.
that we would work something.
But that's why they passed the bill.
Because this is what I say. Who said that Stanford was better than Tuskegee?
No, they passed the bill because they know you was gonna flee from your stuff and you had no idea about their stuff. And it was a win-win.
Now, okay, so take that. It's a win-win back then, but today, all right. I'm about to give you something. What I liken it to, and forgive me, I mean no disrespect. I 100% mean no disrespect. But like, it's like having a new crackhead. And when I say a new crackhead, meaning cocaine 80s, you didn't know what it was going to do to your system. You was looking for an outlet. Today, it's almost like NFL and NBA players going broke. You didn't have too many stories.
Okay.
You got everything. You know.
See, he in my head right now. You called it. The story I was going to tell is about a drug user. Okay. So you brought it up there and you added a football player to it. But the thing is, consistency breeds hazard. You keep getting that money, spending that money, then it's there no more. You keep using that drug, and tell people you want to clean up. Nobody want to hear you no more. Who's going to believe you? Right? So it's the same thing you was talking about. You keep doing it so much, it's like, okay, you keep saying it's the same thing.
And you're expecting a different result.
No, but now it's tenfold. It duplicated that much. They had one crackhead on the neighborhood block, then all of a sudden they had 1,000. So anything is going to duplicate itself. So it's starting to duplicate itself that people are rejecting the idea that black guys are rearing their kids to be great people. Look at you, look at you, look at you, look at him, look at him, look at him. We're under videography, we're under talking about
but even in that same situation, and Corey, I want you to come into this, is who are we trying to impress ourselves? And I'm gonna give you one. Before I left my house today, I told my wife, I said, I'm just now finally getting to a point of feeling like I'm doing what I need to do as a father. And she will tell you, Demetrius, you are a great father. Now, mind you, the only acceptance I'm looking for is from her. I could care less what everybody else is saying, but also I had to stop myself from being detrimental to myself.
We do that every day.
Wait, before you go further.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No. I want real talk. Because I want to make sure everybody is listening and understand what you just said. I want you to repeat yourself. The only acceptance you're looking for is from who?
My wife.
Exactly.
But with that being said, that still doesn't stop the voice that's in my own head. And that could be more detrimental than any approval I get from anybody.
Absolutely. Well, that's like listening to the radio. Josh said something the other day, and I said, damn, this dude beat me to that thought. The radio was on, I listened to WWL and I listened to WBOK. WWL talk about their problems with white people. WBOK talk about white people problems, what white people do with black people. So they never talk about our problem, how we can get above, go ahead, create new identities, right? But WWL is saying the biggest and the brightest things about themselves. But WBOK be talking about things that, like what other people are doing us, like they throwing rocks at our house. So it's just like what you said, you look for your wife validation. You ain't looking for nobody else to tell you. So in our own house, WBOK, my house, Mr. Chill don't worry about nobody on couch and Cooter Brown's dagger shop. I'm doing this. Yeah. Worry about me and Joyce Wilson over there and this young man right here. You understand? And that's what you got to do out here when you laying a legacy and you laying your mark down out here. You want kids to see what it is and what it takes to be a strong survivor and black.
Stay right there. So what I want us to do right now is, what can we tell non-blacks about black fathers and the myth of us not being in our kids' life and we're not doing this and we're not doing, like, what perspective can, us four men give people that are watching and to the other people that we're trying to reach out to about black fathers?
I'm gonna need a French fry.
Well, realistically, it's not a race thing to me.
Right.
If a father is gonna be in a child's life, it don't matter if you're black, Asian, whatever the case may be. Let's get that understood. I think too, it's disappointing to me, especially in the spiritual respect, that people are still talking about black and white and Pakistan and Afghanistan, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For me, that's still small-minded to me. I don't think people necessarily see the bigger picture. Everything for me that happens in the natural always has something spiritual attached to it behind the scenes that most people don't really see, because we look on the surface. And the enemy is wise enough to know, if I can separate y'all by race and keep y'all with that little foolishness, then people won't see believers and non-believers. Because the war is spiritual, that's number one. What happens is, there's a lot of black fathers that I know guys are doing great. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I see black fathers all day. I commend guys at the park on the merry-go-round with their children all the time. And I always stop guys and tell them how proud of them, because what happens is that stigma is out there, and what happens on television, they're going to do exactly that, television. They're going to tell a vision of how they want us to be perceived, but that don't necessarily mean that that's true.
You made a great point that I want you to keep touching on right quick. You said that all of your friends, like you hang around people that are supportive in their kids. Like, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I live by that same motto. Like, if you're in my circle of friends, like, you have to be a real father. Point blank and period. Like, if you're not a real father and you're not doing for your child, then we can't be friends, my brother. I mean, I'm just being real, because what type of friend am I to you to say, okay, it's okay to abandon your kids.
Right.
It's okay to not to do nothing. It's okay to not to support financially. Like, what type of friend I am to you?
Well,
So,
he may not hear it right now, but you need to stay around that idiot. You know what I mean? Because
and
that's why each one teach one. You know what I'm saying?
To Mr. Chill's point, I said one of the worst things that happened when desegregation happened. Now, again, I'm 37, but I'm a student of history. Is that we sent off our best and brightest, so to speak. And what that did was it created animosity, because why does JoJo get to go and Peanut got to stay here? Why am I not as good as JoJo? What does he have that I don't have? And then that's how you get infiltrated. And I look at it like this. Again, if you look at history, if you're 70 years old right now, let's do some simple math. You're 70 years old right now in 2019. That means you was born around 1944 and 1945. That means you was 20 years old in the 60s. A well-aware person. So if you was 20 years old in the 60s, Mr. Chill, he remember the 60s. He know what was going on in that time frame. So it wasn't pervasive that you had a whole bunch of people that were allies to individuals that looked like us. So I said, if you're 70 years old today, I got grandparents that's 90. So that means their kids is in the 60s and 70s.
Yes, indeed.
So that means, what do you think they was teaching their kids? Because at that particular time, after high school, oftentimes you were having kids. So if you're 70, your kids is 50.
Back in the day, they didn't even really. So I just say this, like, and my dad.
Let me finish. So when you start talking about how people's thought processes are, it's not far fetched to see somebody say, "I believe that 70% of black fathers aren't there." They're regurgitating the script from a time where we know, as a culture, we weren't looked at as favorable. So it's like, I can't blame you. You just regurgitated what you were taught. Now, the unfortunate part is, most people that are taught wrong often look at somebody else to teach them right versus looking inward to say, let me correct myself. And we can say that about our own culture. You know, most people that are abused end up becoming abusers because they don't look within themselves to say, I need to change this. Most people that lead you lead how you've been led. If you got ruled with an iron fist, though you didn't like it, oftentimes the people you're ruling, you're going to rule with one because that's what you know.
So let me throw let me throw a twist, because I like what you just said. So I'm gonna throw this question out. Do we feel, black men, that they are threatened by us.
Who is they?
Okay,
pronouns. Let's take
no, listen. So let's back it up. So so everybody's watching. We said that we're gonna keep it 100.
Yeah.
So here's the thing about it. Since the original statement was made
Like Al
by
Sharpton said.
a white man, so we're gonna say this.
Say the name.
So here's the thing about it. No, this is cool. We're gonna keep it 100. So I mean, the original statement was made by a white man that 70% of African American fathers are not active. So let me say this. Me personally, I want to say, how threatened are they by us?
I don't believe. Okay. And I'm sorry, Corey, because I want to get you in.
Yeah.
I want to make sure
I
that.
think Corey loading up on this answer.
Oh, I want to make sure that everybody on this podcast recognize that we have to stop looking at things in totality. I'm not going to look at an entire culture. I'm going to look at specific people.
Right.
I said this to this man on a conversation we had earlier. It's easy to generalize. I'm not going to say that all. I'm going to say that there are some that feel that 70% of black fathers are absent. I'm not going to say that that's the majority.
Right.
I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I pray that you do the same for me. I know that may not be common, but what I don't want us to do is look at this one male statement who happens to be white and extrapolate that to what the masses think.
Right. Start categorizing and saying that he speaks for everybody.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And see, that's important. I'm glad you
Gotcha.
brought that up.
Gotcha.
That's very important because there's been some white people who's blessed me tremendously.
Indeed.
When I was in the streets, there had some black men that were shooting at me. So for me, I don't look at it from that perspective.
There are white people and people who happen to be white.
There you go. There you go. And that's so true because as a matter of fact, we were doing a rally in Baton Rouge a couple of days ago for guys who were wrongfully incarcerated. And there was a 70-year-old white man, and he was standing up for them just as much, if not more, than all the black people out there. And that impressed me because it let me know that we have experienced growth. And a lot of times we sit around and talk about what hasn't happened or what hasn't been done. But then sometimes we don't take the time and look at what has been done. We've come a very long way.
Because it's easy. I always say negative compounds. Good is what have you done for me lately?
Yeah.
It's easy. Think about relationships. You can say everything your lady don't do.
Yeah.
But then when they say, what does she do? You're going to have to sit down with a pen and pad and think about
Everybody do. Hey, tell me the negatives in a positive relationship. You start talking negative, like, yeah.
I'm like this.
Tell me the positive.
Oh, that's so true.
Man, let me.
Because I'm not going to lie to you, this is one of those things, and the reason why positives are so good is because they take time.
Yes.
Like I look at positive, like when somebody get me a positive, something really good had to happen because, negative is gonna be what's pervasive.
Yeah.
Hey, that's that iniquity that I know you know about. It's easy for the negatives.
So look, let me ask y'all this. Like I said, we all black fathers. So, what are the things that we can do as black fathers to better ourselves? Here's the thing about it. I love what you said. We're not trying to impress nobody. I mean, the fact of the matter that if I'm listening to my wife, you know what I'm saying, or I'm listening to my family that are giving me feedback on what I'm doing, you know what I'm saying? Like, cool. But if the outside say, look, I don't need to post on social media what I'm doing all the time. I'm gonna give it. Look, we got a few minutes. I know.
I wasn't here last week. I'm making up.
Listen, everybody here has a beautiful daughter that they always post on social media, and I love her so much. But we're not talking about y'all. So,
no. I got something to say.
So my thing, before I turn it to you, I just want to say this. Here's my thing about it. My thing is that what can we do as black? Because even though we're good fathers, there's some people out there that aren't. You know what I'm saying? So obviously this topic came from somewhere. Nobody just dug this up out the blue and said, hey, black men, y'all ain't doing nothing. somebody's seen something. So as black men, what can we do?
Okay, I can only speak to entrepreneurship.
Yes, sir.
My name is Mr. Chill, and the only thing Mr. Chill can do, he can collaborate with other entrepreneurs to ask them, hey, could you find somebody from 18 to 55 or 75, black, who trying to find their way, give them a job, give them an opportunity, teach them about banking, teach them about paying their taxes, teach them about achieving and earning things. That's what I think the future of young black men is, being able to be empowered by finances and having jobs. It's hard to find jobs at all these other companies. They don't have the skill set, they don't have the trades. But a lot of people, when I always say the 60s, 70s, and the 80s, they taught people skill sets. And we need to teach people skill sets. Like if it's children, you can learn how to be a chef, you can learn how to be a front order cook. It's a lot of things you learn how to do. Cash register, you can clean up the building or whatever. Barbershop, you can learn how to cut hair. We need to do as entrepreneurs, teach people how to come work at our businesses and give them a lifestyle. That's what it's about to me.
And that's good, and I like that you brought that up, because that's practical ways that we can do it. You know what I mean? And young people have to learn how to be entrepreneurs. Young people have to learn these different skill sets in order to continue to grow forward. Another thing that I believe that we can do as me as an individual is me continue to grow. The more that I develop, and personal development is important, because I try to be what I want to see. So if I want to see a man of greatness, I got to be that. If I want to be a man of integrity and of wisdom, I have to be that. So what happens is, what I usually do, for instance, I'll take my son with me somewhere and I just let him watch. Because I think some things is taught, but then some things are caught. So my son just seeing me moving as an entrepreneur, my son seeing me speak on these different platforms, and my son seeing me do all of these different things, number one, he knows it's possible, right? And number two, him just watching, seeing daddy do something that's a move of God, inspires him as an individual. Also, making sure that we keep our family structure. You know, whether the mother and the father is together or not, we still have to make sure that we're present, so that, you know, we can give them that family feel as much as possible. And we all have to make a decision. As far as me and my household, we gonna serve the Lord. And that's where it starts and ends, because what happens is, when we take family structure away, then the community gets broken down. And once the community gets broken down, so on and so forth. But it starts in the home, I believe, a lot of times, because what happens is, the home is where most of the foundation is set. You know, what they learn at school, that's extra. When they're with their friends, that's extra. But that home foundation is very, very important. And us being mindful, when I was a child, I didn't have an option to go to church. Whether I was in there listening or not, I had to go. Now, half the time I wasn't listening, because I ain't kept nothing about what this old man was saying. And I thought them people was crazy, running around and screaming and shouting. But my grandmother and my mama made sure I was there. Nowadays, it's an option to parents, because a lot of parents themselves aren't dedicated to a church. And what I think personally is, God blesses certain people to do certain things. Just how we have somebody that's a chef. I don't know how to cook.
So wait,
but I know it's a chill.
Hold on 1 second. So listen, we gotta take a quick break.
Go ahead.
And when we come back, I'm gonna let Corey finish, because listen, y'all, I feel like Corey got some knowledge to put out, and I really do not want to cut that off.
Yeah.
So we're gonna take a quick break. We'll be right back. We'll come back with Corey. See y'all later. I was trying.
We are sitting down talking to Dr. J, the hearing doc, who is helping people in New Orleans hear and speak better. What's your favorite performer this year that you're looking forward to?
Tank and the Bangers, Diana Ross, Big Frida.
how you got your start.
I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Who inspires you?
I am inspired by everyday people.
Don't make permanent decisions because of temporary feelings.
Ultimately, you have to learn to depend on God and yourself.
I had a pound of weed in the trunk. I knew that day I was gonna go to jail. I want them to know that they can't make it, that there is hope.
In New Orleans, art is everywhere, but sometimes that artistry could come at a price.
Just to put a mural up should not cost an artist $500. We think it should be $50.
I just hate that someone would do that and feel they could come in here and do whatever they want.
I went to prison for distribution of cocaine, and that was a past life.
There should not be prison without reentry service, just period.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the last segment. So what we wanted to do, we wanted to end everything on a positive note, but before we end it, I know Corey was talking, we had to cut him off, so I want you to finish everything you were talking.
All I'm basically saying is we got to get the family structure as much in place as we possibly can. Because what happens is it's the man and the woman should get together, get married, have children. Nowadays, it's all out of whack. The man and the woman just hooked up for one night. They have a child out of wedlock, and now they're trying to figure it out. Why? Because we get out of God's divine order.
Stay right there. Let me ask you a good question. I know a lot of people feel like just because, and I want Corey to answer because I know you look at me like I want to do just because we have a child, that means we got to make everything work. We got to get married. We got to start a family.
Well, what happens is, a lot of times, sometimes we'll pick partners based out of our flesh, right? And we'll have a child with this person that we made the decision to hook up with, and the child comes as a result of this mother and this father hooking up together, right? Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the person that God ordained you to have purpose with. That could have been somebody you chose because you were just being nasty one night, or her vice versa, right? But what happens is we have to get to that place to whereas for me now, when I think of relationships, when I was younger, I wanted a wife so I could have sex whenever I wanted to. I'm just being bluntly honest with you. That's why I wanted to have sex whenever I want. That's a free sex package on there, everything. But as I matured, I realized purpose was more important. And also a man and a woman, God put them together also to make a righteous seed. And see, once the man begins, especially the man is so strong. Because once the man is focused on the things of God, then at that point, the man doesn't need validation.
Where you gonna preach?
So what happens is, it's almost like Noah. Noah was the only righteous one. But because he had a relationship with God, because he walked with God, he didn't need validation when God told him to do something. And nowadays, a big thing, confirmation. Give me confirmation, Lord. He done slapped you in your face 32 times and you still need confirmation. Why? Because that first time we hear from God, we don't usually move on it, and we move ahead of God. And I'm guilty of it, right? But what happens is when we get back to doing things God's way, and we humble ourselves, because more often than not, we get ahead of God and we don't follow God when He's trying to lead us. And that goes back to what we talked about a while ago, submission. Men must learn to submit to God. And you're going to run yourself crazy until you learn to submit. And once you learn to submit and those things get in order, that's why He says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and the things going to be added. But what happens is we want the things, we want the women, we want all of this before we see God, and that's out of order.
Well, hold on. I just want to add something to that.
Yeah.
Even when you submit, you still going to have issues.
Absolutely.
So that's the one part that I always want to add to, because again, as people with microwave, we're looking for the get out of jail free card and what's going to alleviate us from everything that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
You still gonna fall short.
Yes.
You still gonna have wrong
Yes.
days. You still gonna make the bad
Yes.
decision. That does not mean that you are no longer a child of God and or being used. Again, my favorite character, not say character, but my favorite person in the Bible is David. Just because of what he did with Bathsheba didn't make him a man after God's own heart. So recognize that. Recognize that. Every person that has been used in the Bible had some sort of affliction. And to me, this is me personally, Demetrius Hardeman, is saying that all of us have something. Meaning, we can still be used when we have something. Not my thing is, I don't fall as far as you do. No, we all have something. That's what makes us alike. And if we stop trying to have a hierarchy, we can recognize that, hey, you may be a bad dad because you need to show up to your son's game. That don't mean you all the way bad. That means you got something you can improve on. Because though you may show up to your son's games, the other dad may cuss out his baby mama every day.
Yeah.
That don't make you any better because you show up to your son's game.
Right.
And the guy that show up to his son's game and don't cuss his baby mama out, you don't get no money for school clothes. That don't make you no better than the person that didn't show up to the game. So again, like we talk about positive, my positive is that we all have a responsibility. And I hope we all hold each other accountable. I know we can. All I say is, brothers, let's be vulnerable with each other to say what we are struggling at. Just because you're struggling don't mean that you are less of a man. We all got something. And please lay it down at the cross and say, I'm struggling with something. And you know what? Brothers, when you hear somebody else is struggling with something, don't jump on them.
Nope.
Say, you know what? I'm struggling with the same thing.
Let me tell you why that's important. Because I tell people all the time, I'm by far not perfect. I'm just dedicated to growth.
None of us.
That's it.
Yes,
I ain't perfect. I'm just dedicated to growth.
Yes, sir.
You know, and one thing I never forget, Bishop Samuel Blake said this. He said, I ain't always right, but I'm always righteous. You know what I'm saying? And that's what brothers need to know. You're not going to be perfect in every aspect every day.
I just want to add one thing to that.
Yeah.
Fellas, don't feel a certain type of way when your woman calls out the growth that you need.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean she's trying to take your place.
She's being a doctor.
That don't mean she's trying to take your place when she calls you out. Don't be, like, again, my mom used to always tell me, hey, if you got people that don't know each other and they say the same thing about you, that may mean it's true.
That's right.
All I'm saying is as black men, as fathers, one, we have to big each other up, continue to big each other up. There is a group on Instagram called the Dad Gang. They have this thing called Strolling in the Park, where they bring all their kids out in the strollers.
Yes.
Everybody got shirts and whatnot, so that it kind of changed the mental mind frame. You don't need an organization to do that for you. You know what I mean? Take your kid out. I'm not gonna lie. When I take my daughter out, it's a lot of people that be looking at me, and I can tell they give me the, man, it's so good to see you out with your daughter.
Yeah.
And you know what? The bad part about it is I get excited and mad at the same time. I get excited because I'm saying thank you. I get mad because this happens more than just what you see.
Yeah.
So look, I'm gonna say this. I just want to make this statement right quick. So with everything that was said tonight, I truly appreciate everybody's opinion. Real talk. The thing is, I think that we need to take from tonight is that, listen, like Demetrius and Mr. Chill and Corey said, for one, it's not about black or white. You know what I'm saying? It's not about a statistic number. You know what I'm saying? Like, so at the end of the day, we gotta focus on ourselves. We gotta be better with ourselves. Like you said, Demetrius, like the only thing I care about is my wife's opinion. Like, you know, at the end of the day, I don't really, and also, you know, with the voice I have in my head. So if I'm dealing with the voice in my head and I'm dealing with my wife's opinion, then that's the only thing that matters. What somebody else on the outside judging me from, I don't really care about that. Me personally, I think as black fathers, we gotta step it up a notch. And I'm just gonna be realistic. Like, we have to step it up. And it's not about what the outside person is thinking, it's about what we know we need to do. Like we said before.
Internal competition.
Hey.
And not that you're not doing it, it's I'm gonna raise you one, and I want you to be.
Here's the thing. I'm gonna say this in closing. I know we gotta wrap it up, and I'm gonna say this in closing. I was raised by a great man. A great man. The crazy part about it, I knew he was a good man. At his funeral, I found out he was a great man. And I'm gonna say it because the thing about it, I knew he was a good father to me. Did a lot of things for me. But the thing about it, at his funeral, I didn't even know he touched so many people.
Yeah.
So many people call him daddy. So many people call him father. I didn't even know. I didn't even know this. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is, as black fathers, we have to understand that, yes, we are raising our children. But at the same time, there's other people that are looking at us as father figures.
That's right.
That we have to understand.
That's right.
So my thing is, be better as black men. I don't give a damn about statistics. You know what I'm saying? I don't give a damn about what a talk show say about 70%. That's irrelevant to us. You know what I'm saying? We know what we're doing. We know what we're doing. We know what we're doing. I know what you're doing because I see every day. I see every day. But at the same time, I want us to become better. You know what I'm saying? I want us to break every and any barrier that we have. You get what I'm saying? So in closing, a little quick second as we close out, I want to start with you, Mr. Chill.
I believe the children are the future.
I'm like you, man. And I also believe that we have to get back to community. To whereas if you see my child doing something foul, you tell them about themselves.
Yes, sir.
Because now we're in a generation where a lot of people are, don't tell me how to raise my child. Don't tell me nothing. And I think that's an unwise thing because there's some people with wisdom, and I believe community is still important.
Be okay to be vulnerable. Be okay to say I don't know everything. Be okay to say I'm sorry. Be okay. And recognize that in being okay, you're going to display something to your children that is going to be inseparable.
So with closing, I'm gonna say this. At the end of the day, I love everything you all said. Understand this. I feel like we should take everything into perspective what these guys said. Understand this. As being a father, we have to be vulnerable. We have to understand every aspect of our kids' life. We got to be able to adjust to that because even though we grew up in an era to where we was raised, times are different. Yeah. So, Mr. Chill, I want to end with you. I thank you so much for giving us this space. I truly appreciate you. Because I called Mr. Chill last minute notice. I said, Mr. Chill, we need your spot. He's like, no problem, I got you. So, Mr. Chill, I want you to end, because listen, everybody, I advertise the card and everything like that. Mr. Chill, give a quick second to advertise the business.
All right, Mr. Chill, I'm at 575 Calton Avenue. Please come see us. We have some great po' boys. We have great hot dogs. We have great cakes. We have red velvet cake. It's to die for. Really, really scrumptious. We have po' boys that you really would just imagine. The average po' boy in New Orleans is, one tomato, maybe a half a pickle. At Mr. Chill's, you get 4 tomatoes, 5 pickles, and a bunch of lettuce. You get hot wings and everything. Just come on down, get some chili cheese fries, you get that Mr. Chill schoolboy, go chili dog. I mean, we ain't playing with it. Y'all just got to come get some of this Yakin man. We straight out the ghetto with that famous food.
Ask him how the food was. I swear,
brothers.
I heard Demetrius. Like all I heard was smacking going on to my right.
Okay,
well, you killed the fries.
Hey, but I heard this smacking though.
All I'm saying is the burger wings are off the chain. I'll be honest with you. I'll be back. It's my first time here.
Hey, baby.
I got indoctrinated. It's my man. He off camera, but he had the burger wings by the window, and I said, "Give me what he got." And definitely, I'm gonna be back, Mr. Chill. I appreciate it.
I'm happy to meet you guys, man. I think you guys are real positive, and it's good to, like the last 7 years, I haven't been around a brain trust. And I think tonight was the first time I've been around it again in 7 years. So thank y'all for introducing me back to thinking again. I've been on a nothing going on. Thank y'all.
I don't win.
Man, let me tell y'all, I couldn't even focus on the podcast. I was trying to find a spot to get my wings on.
Corey had no fries. None of his fries are gone.
I had the teriyaki wings, and I was focusing so much on them wings, I couldn't think of no responses or anything. Because it had my undivided attention. So make sure y'all support Mr. Chill. The food is amazing. He's a great guy, so make sure y'all support him.
Listen, y'all, man, thank y'all so much for tuning in. This was a topic that we really had to address from a black father standpoint. And that's the reason why you see that I had a panel of all black fathers. So listen, we gonna go back again next Thursday. We actually have something special for you all next Thursday. I can't really say right now, but we actually have something very special. So thank y'all for tuning in to His View. I love you all. God bless.